Hello and welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast. The bestest, most, well, it's not really the most popular, it's certainly though the bestest podcast on witchcraft and the occult and all that
Absolutely.
sort of thing that has ever existed and possibly ever will exist, Chris, isn't it? You know?
Standard.
Don't take our word for it. Ask your various gods and goddesses that you pagans and such like to petition. They all know. They all know. We know they know because who do you think sends you lot to us? You people at the end of the psychic fair. Oh, I've wandered past you a couple of times. I just feel drawn to you. I've got this really big problem. None of the psychics are able to help me. Do you have something that you can help me? Is there a crystal for that? Oh, Lilith, she told me to come to you. Did she? Hmm. She said you'd be coming. Did she? Did she tell you my name? No, she just said some fuckwits are going to be coming along, and is your call in this life to help them? That's what she said, wasn't it, Chris? Old
Yeah,
Lilith.
she normally says, "I'm bored of this fuckwit, so can you do something with them to make them more interesting?"
That is not even a lie. We have actually had that, not necessarily from Lilith, I don't think has happened, but we've definitely had it from a Bridget.
Oh,
Uh,
Bridget does
as
that all the
I've
time.
spoken to the same person over and over again. I've told them the same fucking thing. They're still not fucking listening. Can you tell them in the English? Can you speak mundane to them, please, Liam and Chris? And we do. We do speak to them in mundane, don't we?
We try.
Yes.
They don't always listen to us either, but
No, they don't. But at least they have no excuse not to understand because they themselves say, yes, I do understand. I've just chosen to do the same thing over and over again because I am probably by definition insane. But there we go. This is not talking about those idiots today. We're talking about other types of people. We're talking about products, Mr. Chris. Now, there's a wonderful post someone put in the Witchcraft Live group. I think it could have been Lady Poison, but I'm not entirely sure. A little while ago now. And it was all about spell casting and charging money for spell casting and such like that, which I will end up doing a ramblings, I promise, on that specific subject because I have a lot to say about it. However, I figured today, given the launch of the new Thoth Witchcraft shop and such up and coming, we should do some chit chat, talk shop about witchcraft shops, our opinion of them, and what is the ideal witchcraft shop? I don't think we've discussed this publicly. We've spoke at length about this on numerous occasions, like that time when we went and visited loads of them around the UK. But I don't think we've actually spoken about what the most ideal witchcraft shop would be. So there's a 20th century thing, really, isn't it? Witchcraft shops. You didn't really get them before that.
No. You just had somebody's back room, don't you?
Yeah. Or an apothecary.
An apothecary with a consultation room.
Yeah.
Which in some ways I feel like is still the perfect one. I feel like the best witchcraft shop you could really walk into would be one that had like a really tiny frontage and then just a little rabbit warren of rooms behind it with like a little library and like a proper little apothecary at the back of all the things that you can't put on show. Like a back room apothecary for the front room one.
So you don't think it should be a generic shop filled with candles and incense people can buy?
No.
Why?
No.
What's wrong with that? Are you saying there's something wrong about that? Like every shop in Glastonbury, are you saying there's something wrong about that?
I think it's like with Instagram, which is it sends the wrong message. Like I think it kind of, unfortunately, I think in the imaginary world, I would love that to be the case. Of you just walked into a place where it just had everything you needed, and you could just go down aisle by aisle and just get the things you needed. But I don't think it will ever work on the basis that I think it sends the wrong image. It sends the idea that it is paint by numbers, and all you need to do is grab that item and that item because the book said, like, and I feel it encourages that. Whereas I think what needs to happen more so is that it's that place you go, like if you went. So there's this. Sorry to do this Disney thing, but that's kind of, you go into. There's a scene right at the beginning of Beauty and the Beast where she goes into a little bookshop, and obviously it's a little town in the middle of nowhere, and she goes in and she goes, "Have you got anything new?" And I just kind of feel like it's that. It's like you need to have that relationship with the person that is there, that kind of goes, "I'm working on this at the moment. You got anything new that I wouldn't know you'd got?" And that kind of relationship of going, "Well, I was gonna try this, but do you have one of these?" Like, that you can go into a little witchcraft shop like that and go, "Oh, I don't want your bog standard frankincense. I want some from Guatemala," kind of thing. Like, and be able to kind of be that specific. And that person behind the desk should be able to go, "Well, I don't have any, but I could put some on order for you if you want it." Kind of having that kind of, I don't know, tour, one of those tourist information offices.
Right.
Like a one-stop shop that just kind of goes, "Well, I don't have it, but you can get it over there."
You want a tourist so rather than some sort of service station on the psychic highways, you want a tourist information center, do you?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a Starbucks in there?
No, I don't. You're taking what I'm saying too literally.
Literal.
What I mean is a case of being that place that, like a good bookshop, where you go and you go, I'm after this. And they go, "Oh, well, I don't have it, but I could get it in for you." Because those are the sorts of bookshops I've gone back to time and time again, on that basis of going, I know if anyone can get it, it's them. And I think that's the sort of relationship that you should have with your kind of local witchcraft shop.
What is a witchcraft shop? What's your understanding of what you'd class as a witchcraft shop? What is do you think the understanding of the mundanes is of what a witchcraft shop is? And what do you think someone that's fairly inexperienced within the realms of magic, so someone that's been practicing for, say, a year and collecting loads of books but still haven't tried a huge amount, what are those three different people's idea of what a witchcraft shop actually is?
I think for most of those categories, they are the same, which is they expect to be able to go into a witchcraft shop and buy the ingredients they've read all about. So I think it has to have like a set of jars full of various different things, but they're all going to be what we would consider fairly mundane. So they're going to be your catnip and your lavender and your nettle, things that they could go and actually find themselves. So whereas and then kind of like they'd have a section that's full of coloured candles, mostly paraffin, like they could if they went into Wilkinson's or Home Bargains or somewhere, or if you're in the US, a Walmart, and just go and buy coloured candles. There's nothing special about them whatsoever. I think they just want kind of cheap ingredients that they can have a go with.
If they're in a witchcraft shop, though, they won't be cheap, though, will they? Let's be fair. They'll be marked up for a ridiculous price.
Yeah. Whereas actually, the only reason I would ever buy something in a witchcraft shop on the kind of candle front is if there was something special about them, like those kind of the big rolled beeswax ones, and you just kind of like, I can't get those anywhere. Like even Jeff Bezos doesn't sell those kind of, that kind of specialist item that they have crafted is probably about the only time I would buy something like that. Because otherwise I would go and buy my candles from Walmart or Wilkinson's, and do, because ultimately unless I'm crafting them myself for a special purpose. I just need bog standard candles because of the way I operate.
Okay. So you class, because obviously the first person I asked about was you and what you class a witchcraft shop as. What would be a witchcraft shop you would be excited to actually go and visit or go and shop in? Now, this could be a one from pop culture, or this could be one that you've actually physically visited, or this could be one that doesn't exist yet.
I suppose the closest one I've seen on popular culture that I would like would probably be, and it sounds really weird because it's not a witchcraft shop at all.
Of course.
So in the sense of it's not what you would expect it to be.
Right.
So for me, my favourite one is from, I think the TV show's on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix now, but it's called The Good Witch.
Right.
And she has a little shop called ℍ𝕠𝕝𝕤𝕣𝕣𝕖𝕕, which is exactly what you would call a witchcraft shop.
I think there is one called ℍ𝕠𝕝𝕤𝕣𝕣𝕖𝕕 Somewhere. I'm pretty sure there is. I remember the website.
And I think it's nicked from a show because I remember the consultant killer talking about it once,
right,
and going, "Oh, ℍ𝕠𝕝𝕤𝕣𝕣𝕗 that's from that movie from the 50s." But anyway,
you're showing the consultant killer's age now, aren't you?
No. Some people, I like lots of movies from the 50s. I'm only 30, Liam. So what I like about that is it's one of those shops where you go and she's whatever you've gone in for, she's got it.
Right. So you just want a shop which when you go in they have what you want in stock, because everyone wants that, Chris. Everyone wants that.
But that's my point. Like for her, it's not a case of they know what they want. She has an item that is perfect for it.
Right.
And what I like about her is because she's a traveller and has spent most of her lifetime travelling, a lot of the items in that shop are hers. They're things she picked up when she was travelling. So it's kind of like, oh, yes, I know what will help with this. I have this perfect bit of incense from Tibet that only exists in this one specific monastery. Try that. Or, they'll go in trying to find the most perfect wedding ring, and she happens to have this Victorian silver piece that belonged to a countess. Do you know what I mean? Like it's that sort of, she has that relationship with the customer to predict what they would want, and not in a kind of snake oil salesman kind of way, but in a genuinely, well, try this. Obviously, she's adding something extra in this show, but my point is, like, it's that's the thing I kind of want. And what I would want is a case of going into somewhere and coming away with something I didn't know I wanted, but is perfect for the thing I needed. And I think that's my kind of ideal.
Now, we've both ran a witchcraft shop, both in person, as in physically, and also online. But things might be changing. Things might be changing around, What was your original hopes and thought process for the original Thoth witchcraft shop versus what you'd potentially like to see now?
So when we first talked about opening Thoth, I think what I thought people wanted was kind of a one-stop shop. So that you had a kind of like thorough range of all the things that people would need if they're starting out. So that's kind of what I thought people wanted, because that's what we were told people wanted. Let's think it quite frankly. We
Yeah.
went and looked at other shops and also spoke to people, and this is what people wanted. What we then realised, I think, to be candid about it, is that what they want isn't possible, which is they want the quality at your kind of pound shop prices, and actually it's not possible to provide that. We're just, unless you're a Walmart and we're going to spend considerable resource in making that happen, you're never going to give that to people. And I think in a lot of ways, I think I found that quite disheartening, is that we created something that was at the standards we would expect. And I don't think enough people are willing to pay the price for that quality.
So before we first started the Thoth Witchcraft Shop, we visited many witchcraft shops, new agey shops. We visited psychic fairs and holistic fairs and all that sort of thing to get an idea of what the fuck is going on. Most of what we saw was mass-produced shit that came from China.
Or India.
And then every now and then there was one person selling a limited range of something that they'd made themselves, whether it was like candles. And that varied in terms of, I suppose you could say, quality, because there are some people that were selling quite good quality stuff where it was hand carved things or, handmade stuff, jewelry and that. But then other people just got a soy candle, sprinkled some shit on the top of it, and then sold that for £5 to £10. It was very varied. You could say that that's homemade, because technically it is homemade, pimped, I suppose. The spider's web, I think, was the main purpose of the Thoth Witchcraft Shop Mark 1, or the original Thoth Witchcraft Shop. It was a spider's web. It was about, like, these little magpies get attracted to tarot cards or candles and all that sort of thing. And what tends to happen is they tend to get taken advantage of, or they tend to be very quiet, come in, buy a candle, buy a spell kit, blah, 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 then go home and then do it, say the spell, do the spell, try learning the cards and stuff, and don't seem to manage doing it. For us, it was about creating a spider's web, and that was the bait, wasn't it? It was to open a shop because people that were interested in magic, learning magic, practicing magic and stuff would be attracted to that. And then it would mean that we could then go and, have conversations with people and such. And then as well, it would cover a lot of the overheads that are necessary for that sort of thing, because when you run a witchcraft shop, as we have, you'll find that you get a lot of these things from holistic trader, which then comes from, like you said, India or China. And the markup is ridiculous. Like the markup on what people buy in a crystal shop, they get that for like pence, and you'll be paying pounds, £10 sometimes, £20, 30 quid, 50 quid, 60 quid, sometimes hundreds of pounds for something that actually can cost pence in some cases. And, we were happy with that because we had a conversation. We were able to have a conversation with every single person that came into that shop, that came to the till, with what is it that you're trying to do? What are you wanting to do? What are you, what is your interest? Blah, blah, blah. And then talk to them and steer them in the right direction, which obviously many people really didn't get when they come and try to purchase some crystals. When you say, that you're not going to be able to just carry them and something magic's going to happen straight away, don't you? There's actual work that's involved with using these. That some person called Jade probably died trying to get that crystal out of the ground for you. We would have these conversations. What was really fascinating was the amount of people, when you say that specific thing, with regards to crystals and that, is that they still want to buy them anyway, because they don't really care about slavery in the Far East or wherever, when it comes to them buying a little pretty rock for £1, which we sold them for £1 each. It was always £1 a crystal. Doesn't matter what crystal it is, they're all £1 each, compared to down the road that crystal shop that sells them for £5, £10 each. Things changed because we did think, and maybe this was a mistake, that we would start to introduce and say, well, okay, let's see if people can tell the difference in quality. So let's start creating incense ranges. If people are interested in incense, let's start creating beeswax candles that are good for the environment versus this paraffin or soy or something like that, you know, that they think are good for the environment but actually aren't. Let's start to produce things out of locally sourced, you know, materials and that, and then we can kind of find, well, that's not really what people want. Most magical practitioners that I know, they're either going to want to use something quick, cheap, and easy, or they're going to want to go through the rigmarole themselves,
hunting it down and procuring it.
The people that want things cheap, quick, and easy, if they're going and buying something from a witchcraft shop, they're either doing it to support local business, which is fucking terrible. You should not do that. Not support local business, I mean support the business of a witchcraft shop, like some of the ones that you have out there that they do nothing for the community. They kind of, they're just collectors, aren't they? They just collect things that have the pentagram on it. At the end of the day, they just want something with a pentagram on it. And if they want something with a pentagram on it, that's fine. But the issue is they can get that on Amazon.
Yeah.
And they can get that a lot cheaper on Amazon. And it's probably not such a good idea for us or someone that wants to open a witchcraft shop to start filling it with products like that. Which, here's the problem. We did. And things like that sold. And that's not good. That's not good. We had meetings and we discussed where we'd literally sit down and said, oh, people are buying these fucking Nemesis Now statues and praying to them, never having understood how to work with spirits before, or whether they're even talking to the right one. You know, we've had these conversations. Where are we at now? Are we, is the witchcraft shop something that we should be encouraging, or is it not something we should be encouraging? I don't know.
I'm really not sure. Obviously, we had to kind of adapt and change because of COVID. So, you know, we then took a lot more of what we do online, stopped focusing on sales and focused more on kind of mentorship and teaching. Now that kind of wave has subsided for a certain amount of time, you know, we're now at that point where we can refocus. I know a big part of what we decided is that, you know, moving forward, what people pay money for is us,
knowledge,
which is never what we actually plan to do at all.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a sideline to get people interested or to offer, you know, the sorts of services we're both used to providing, whereas actually most of them would rather go and pay a premium line £5 a minute to go and get their tarot read, instead of actually doing something about their journey. So I don't know, it's tricky. I think one of the things that were quite popular and I quite enjoyed working on were the kits. I think selling the individual items were kind of there as refills, because people really just wanted the full shebang of us telling them how to do it, which again is not what we wanted, but they were really good sellers. What blew my mind was things like what I wanted to be an amazing seller, because I think it's a brilliant idea, weren't, which is, you know, like the planetary yarns, which are genius and you could not get anywhere else. But they're nowhere near as popular as I thought they would be. You know, yes, they've sold, but kind of like, yeah, I'm surprised. But again, I think when we do things like that, we've expected a higher level of practitioner going, actually, that's really cool and I can't get that anywhere. But, you know, it's too complicated for the collectors. I think for the collectors, the concept of that is too scary.
The
Whereas
the
if you had a physical shop and we were walking in and we were having those conversations and go, that this is what those are for, they would sell, but they don't sell without it.
So the biggest sellers come the end of the physical shop was the casting a spell with Liam and Chris.
Yeah.
So where we sit down and we help them construct their first ever spell or a spell. You know, a lot of these people have been doing spells before with mixed results, but we'd sit down with them around a consultation table. We'd let them pick the materials. It didn't really matter how much quantities of what. It was just, we would help you design a spell. You'd cast it, you do it there, or at the very least, you do the start of it there. That was the most popular, and I'm glad we did that. I think that we put a lot of knowledge out there, and there's a lot of very happy customers and such from that. In terms of what I'd like to propose, because I like to make a proposal, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'm going to wait for the extended edition. That was good. That was good. It wasn't what I think. Well, no one else was doing it. That's the shocking bit. The fact that no witchcraft shops, they're really doing spell casting lessons as a product. They might sell a candle and then say you can light that candle at our altar in our store, but no one literally when they said, you know, here's this, you know, what spell would you like? Because we had a bunch of example kind of jar spells and charm bags and stuff like hung up and that in cabinets, and they'd normally go, oh, I want one of those. It's like, oh, you have to make it now with us, and we're going to take you through it. Oh, do I? Can I not just buy that one? No, you fucking can't. It's for display purposes only. Yeah. You know, the one thing that I was very upset is we didn't, or I don't know whether I'm upset or not. There's lovely daggers and such that we used to put at the bottom shelf so that the kids could have easy access to them and wave them about. Wonderful. We didn't really sell much of those, which I'm kind of glad. We didn't sell much jewelry because we got sterling silver jewelry. It wasn't like shite quality stuff. It was decent quality stuff. Not a lot of that necessarily went, which I was surprised at. Come the end, it was all consultation work. It was all wanting us to help them fix problems, which I like. But we don't need a witchcraft shop to do that.
No.
We just need ourselves. So, you know, the history of witchcraft shops, I suppose, is an interesting one, because I said that they're really a 20th century thing, you know, because obviously witchcraft and magic and stuff was a bit, you know, of an iffy subject. Back in the day, you know, it would be, you know, it would be like maybe your Borgin and Burke's type deal, but it would be more classed as an antique store, I should imagine. In the Victorian era, it would be an antique store where the person there, or a used bookshop where the person there has an interest in the occult, and there seems to be an abundance of occulty kind of objects, you know. As things changed with the 20th century, you'll tend to find that, well, actually, there's a lot more people interested in practicing. Where do they find other like-minded people? Where they find someone from a specific witchcraft style shop, and that witchcraft style shop probably doesn't do a huge amount of trade in person. What they do have is a catalogue. A lot of these witchcraft shops did a lot before the internet came along, were mainly just small little operated businesses that had a catalogue that they'd send through the post, and people would, you know, literally send cash, potentially checks through the post, you know, and they'd be weird occult items, maybe candles and such, but they would normally be things that you'd find that were necessary for, you know, ℍ𝕠𝕒𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣𝕣 type stuff, or something that witches kind of need, maybe herbs and such like that. But it was very much, I think, community is what people were after, or the ability to do this copy and paste thing. I've got this this book and it says I need these ingredients. Where the fuck do I find some turtle blood from? Well, I suppose I'll go to the occult shop. That's how they kind of changed and moved. And I think that pop culture has obviously picked up on that. But anyway, we'll discuss this more in the extended edition. That's it for the regular edition of the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast. And yes, the Thoth Witchcraft Shop may be coming back.